my channel. My name is Stephanie, and today I wanted to talk to you about my Watermelon Peperomia plant. So let's just get into it. So this is my plant that I have here. Now, as you can see, it's thriving. It's so beautiful. I love this plant. It's become quite popular in the last couple years, which makes me very pleased. So it's got these large leaves, and they obviously look like watermelon stripes, and then the stems are a nice like reddish pink color, so that's what gives it the name. It's a beautiful plant, and it's so easy to care for as well, so that's another reason. This was one of the first plants that I owned, and this is a newer replacement, again replacing all my plants since I moved here. But so this is the plant that I have now, and obviously as you can see, it's very happy. It's got lots of leaves, and it's putting out new growth as well. Like that, there's a leaf here that's coming out, and it's kind of hard to show. It's got quite a bit of new growth coming in, so that's super exciting. So this plant does really well, I find, in direct light and bright indirect light as well. So I have it currently on my desk that has southwest facing light, and it seems to really be happy with that light. So anyway, that's this plant. It's an absolute joy to grow too. It's just so like lively. I don't know, it always has stood out to me as just one of the nicer, cool houseplants. So this is, again, a replacement plant that I've had, and the first one that I had, it got really big, and it got like really, I don't know, like wild stems and stocky, and it was all like falling over. And right now, this is obviously just a nice kind of well-rounded looking shape. So I'm going to update you guys as how the growth goes for this, because this will be my first time trying to like keep it looking nice while it gets bigger as well. So yeah, and as far as watering this puppy, I water it once a week, and right now that it's summertime, usually spring and summer, I'll give it plant food as well. So I always use my Schultz's liquid plant food, and again I do about 2 droppers full in my watering can, nothing new there, and top it up with fresh soil whenever it looks like it needs it. And the other thing too, this plant is really good at telling you when it needs to be watered, because the leaves will start to kind of like droop a bit. So it's really easy to tell when this plant is actually thirsty, but I like to kind of water it before it gets to that point, just to keep it healthy and putting out new leaves, because if it goes unwatered too long, the new growth will start to kind of like die away and stop actually coming out as new growth. So I definitely like to keep an eye on the watering situation, and especially when it's warm out right now, the house is warm, I just water it once a week regardless, and lately honestly a bit more often than that. But yeah, that's watering and fertilization and light situation. I'm also going to try to propagate this plant today too, so let's see how that goes. So this is what you're going to need to propagate. You're going to need some shears. You can use a knife too if you don't have this. Just make sure they're clean. You can also use house scissors too, by the way. Then you're going to need a little pot, and I just have the tray under there just because I'm just putting it in the plastic nursery pot. Some soil, some plastic wrap, and an elastic band. Alright, so we're going to propagate this baby. So the first thing you want to do is take your container and fill it with soil. Alright, so I have it filled to just below that rim there, to the brim. And the next thing I'm going to do is cut my leaf. So I'm going to take one of the ones that is a bit less than perfect and lower to the bottom as well, just to kind of, because as the plant grows, the leaves kind of like naturally droop to the bottom, so I don't want to speed up that process any faster. So I'm going to take this one. This is one of the leaves that it had when I got it from the nursery, and it's a little bit damaged. It's a little bit like dry. I don't know if it got scratched, or the nursery here is honestly not the greatest quality. So anyway, so I'm just gonna take this and just cut it from the stem there. So that's the leaf with the stem. So I was looking at ways to propagate, and one of the ways you can do it is by putting the actual whole stem in the soil, but it can be slower to do, and that may not always work very well. So the other option is to cut the leaf in half, and then you can get two cuttings from it, or two like baby plants starting from it. So we're going to try that. So I'm going to cut it, so the stem is here, that's like the little center of it, and then I'm just going to cut it right under so that I have two leaf halves. Okay, so I have those. And then I'm going to quite simply just place them in the soil. And this I'm going to just trim the stem off. And you can put these into separate pots if you want. I don't really think that matters, as long as the cut edge of the leaf is touching soil. And then give it a little watery loo. Okay. So that's done. And then I'm going to take some plastic wrap and just cover this. I'm going to keep it covered probably just for a couple of days, just to let it kind of do its thing. Alright, so that is my 2 propagation attempts for my Watermelon Peperomia, and I will update you guys on how this goes. I'll link my Instagram below. It's plant.exotic, and that's my Planty Instagram, so I will definitely update you guys on there and make another video if this works out, and just update you guys on the propagation for this, because this is my first time trying this, and I'd be really excited to see if it works. I feel like it should work, honestly, because I did a similar thing with my Chinese money plant, and I cut the stem like with a little bit of like the bark from the plant, and then I put that in water, and that rooted, and then that turned into like a whole new plant, and then the leaf that I cut off eventually died off. It was a really interesting process to watch, actually. So I feel like this is kind of a similar concept. But yeah, anyway. Thank you so much for watching, and I also have some clips that I'll put in here for my other propagations that I have since done and potted up, and a little bit of planty chores that I'll put into the video here now. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Alright, so this is my Philodendron Brazil, and it's quite long and healthy, and I'm going to repot it because, as you can see, the roots are totally popping out, so let's do it. Alright, so this is the pot that I'm going to put it in. It's definitely an inch bigger, which I like to try and do. The first thing that I like to do is take a coffee filter, and I'm just going to open that and lay it inside, and I'm going to peel this sticker off and just put it in the bottom like that. That way the soil doesn't just like pour out with every watering. And then I'm going to take my plant. Oh, it's so healthy. Oh my. And then I'm just going to squeeze. Just to loosen the roots. Wow. Look at those roots. Oh my. Alright, and I'm just gonna flop it in there and then add some soil. I just use normal potting soil. It has some like volcanic ash in it already, so I'm not going to worry about adding more drainage or, you know, bark or anything. And then give it a little water. I'm not going to actually add any more soil. It's obviously best to add like more soil to the top, like almost to the top of the pot. But there's a bunch of leaves in here that are still like really small, and I want them to grow over the pot first before I add more soil, because I don't want to cover them up and then have them die on me. So that's it. And this plant obviously has way more room to grow now, and I think it'll just spread out more and just be a fuller plant, because right now it's basically, it's one long vine that's growing. So once it starts growing more, you know, now that it has more room, this I think is going to really take off, because it looks like there's several vines starting in here. And once they all kind of grow, and once these actually are open, I'm going to take some more cuttings and then propagate those, because I like to sell my plants actually. It's like my little side hobby. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very easy to do. And now you have more room for your plant. And it can grow, and it can be beautiful. Alright, the next plant that I'm going to repot is my begonia, my polka dot begonia that I got from a nursery in St. John's for free actually on my birthday. It was a beautiful day. I went in looking for a plant and I thought I'd look for one that stood out to me, and then I went into the store and I saw this one, and it was a huge plant, but it said not for sale on it. So I went to the first like worker that I found, and I asked them, can I buy a cutting off of you? And he's like, no, we don't actually have any cuttings for sale, but I do have a plant that I started from it that you can just have. And I was like, okay, sure. So he brought this out, and since I've had it, it's put out at least 3 new leaves already, so it's totally thriving. And it's in a really tiny pot, and I just want to give it a better home. So let's just put this in a little pot. So I'm gonna put it in this terracotta pot. This plant seems to be very resilient so far, so I just want to give it a bit more room just to like spread its wings. And now that it's been home for a while, it's obviously doing fine. It's kind of like, you know, not in shock at all. So I'm gonna put it in this terracotta pot, and I think terracotta will be fine for it just because it doesn't seem to go brown too easily. It's not very sensitive to being dry. So, and terracotta definitely obviously dries out faster than having it in a plastic pot. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my coffee filter again and just cover the hole with that. And then we're just going to take it . Wow, it's very healthy. And literally just pop it in there. And it only needs a little bit more soil actually, so that's good. I don't get too fancy with like potting mixes, honestly. I I think it's a little bit unnecessary for most plants. As long as you're not like soaking your plants or, you know, they're obviously doing fine and putting out new growth and they're not like looking sad. I don't think it's super necessary to be like really worried about the type of potting soil you use. And this stuff already has some drainage in it. As long as you don't like pack it super tight. And because I'm putting it in terracotta, it's definitely not gonna like sit wet, you know? I'm excited for this to get bigger and then start plants from it and sell them, because that's definitely the goal for me. Because where I live, there's actually not very many plant options. A lot of these plants I've had like from cuttings. My mom has been bringing me cuttings from my plants that she has in BC every time she comes, and I brought like a cardboard box of cuttings with me when we moved here. So alright. And I like to be kind of like on the, I don't know how to say it, more conservative side with adding soil at first, and then I like to kind of keep an eye on them and see how they're doing, and then, you know, as I water them and the soil kind of like compresses a bit, I like to kind of add more soil based on that. And we're just gonna give it a little drink. And I did just recently water this, so I'm not gonna like totally soak it. But anyway, that's my begonia. Look at it. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my. Ah! Anyway, and you can see there's like new growth coming in. Yes. There's at least 3 leaves. I can see 4 that are going to open up pretty soon. So this plant is definitely going to be a grower, and I'm really excited for it. So yes, there we go.